morning. And good morning. And you are so right, Norman Paris. We will indeed be Alabama bound today with a young man who sings and strums his guitar to tell us tales of the Southland. Natalie Kaur tees off golf fashions with golf champion Alice Bauer. And Lucille Rivers tells us how stitching in time saves 9. Today on Home.
Monday, March 25th. NBC presents your 794th daily issue of Home, starring Arlene Francis.
Several weeks ago, Home received a warm, friendly letter from a viewer in Montgomery, Alabama, and she wrote with a good deal of affection of her home and her family, particularly her husband. Lorene Turner thinks herself very fortunate to be Jack Turner's wife, and she told us of Jack's talents as an artist and as a folk singer and about the pride he takes in his family and his home. And I tell you, it was such a nice letter that we wanted to meet them both. So we went to Jack Turner's home in Alabama with our film unit. Well, then we just liked them so much, we brought the whole family back home with us. This is Montgomery. This is the capital city of Alabama, located in the southeast corner of the state on a bend in the Alabama River. And its rich cotton-producing country has the largest cattle market east of Texas. There's the Capitol building, and it looks down on the city where Jefferson Davis led the Confederate Army in the war between the states. And it was in this house that he handled the affairs of state during that war, the first White House of the Confederacy. Seeing the fine antebellum houses that line the wide streets of Montgomery, can't you just imagine Scarlett O'Hara surrounded by many beaux, particularly Clark Gable, arriving in a carriage at one of these gracious homes in time for the great ball? Smell the magnolia. Contrasting to the historical flavor of Montgomery is this very modern Coliseum designed by an award-winning student architect, and it houses many of the city's entertainment events. In the Oak Park section of Montgomery, Jack and Lorene Turner live in this charming house with their 3 children. Jack gets a good deal of pleasure out of spending time with his family at home, for though he's an entertainer, he is first and foremost a family man. And he's also a portrait painter of considerable skill. Among his most noted paintings is a full-length portrait of Hank Williams that hangs in the memorial room at Hank's mother's home. Good, huh? Jack works as a professional artist in the audio-visual department of the Air University at Maxwell Air Force Base. One out of every 14 employed civilians in Montgomery work here, where officers of the Air Force continue their studies in modern aeronautics. Jack leads a very productive, creative life. Besides a full day at the drawing boards and his portrait painting, he has one of the most popular local programs in Montgomery. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays over NBC station WSFA, Jack and his daughter Dixie present the Jack Turner Show, singing folk songs to the delight of Montgomery viewers.
Right now, would you like to experience Niagara's wonderful world of well-being? Here's how you can.
Oh, my. You just take 15 minutes to relax in this Niagara cyclo-massage chair at your Niagara dealer's showroom, and you will know what Niagara well-being is. You see, it's a gentle, soothing cyclo-massage action, and it's built right into the chair, and it's genuinely and wholesomely beneficial for you, and in so many ways, too. Now, in this March House Beautiful magazine, for example, Mr. George Beck, the executive vice president of the Schaefer Pen Company, and there he is. He says Niagara is a fine investment in relaxation. And, of course, he is right. Niagara increases your circulation, helps you rest and relax, helps relieve fatigue and nervous tension. It eases sore muscles and, pain of so many types. Helps you to what is literally a wonderful world of well-being. So find out all about Niagara. See and try this chair today at your Niagara dealers. Or write to us for complete information and descriptive literature.
Great Atlantic Ocean to the wide Pacific shore. From the queen of flowing mountains to the South Dale by the shore. She's mighty tall and handsome and known well by all. She's the combination on the Wabash Cannonball. She came down to
Jack Turner, who comes from Montgomery, Alabama, is a man of many talents. A professional artist who works at Maxwell Air Force Base. He's also an excellent portrait painter, as I showed you. But the talent that gives him most pleasure is singing, which he does over NBC station WSFA in Montgomery. He sings songs of the South, mostly railroad songs.
The rumble and the roll as she glides along the woodland through the hills and by the shore. The rumble of the engines, those lonesome hobos squall. You're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.
Oh, the Wabash Cannonball. Jack works now in the complex area of modern aeronautics, where talk of turbine jets and flying thousands of miles an hour, planes crashing the sound barrier, are topics of everyday conversation. But it wasn't so long ago when the most exciting thing he could think of was a ride on the fast express that roared across Brush Creek Trestle outside of Haleyville, Alabama, where he was born. Those days, the mightiest sound in the world wasn't the scream of jets, but a train's whistle, a sound so much a part of life in Haleyville that people set their clocks by it. Like any boy, he listened fascinated as his father told him stories of railroading. His heroes were the men of the Illinois Central. The engineers, the brakemen, the conductors, and the greatest hero of them all, Casey Jones, who rode to fame down the tracks of the Illinois Central.
Now come all you rounders if you want to hear the story about a brave engineer. Casey Jones was a rounder's name. On a 6/8 wheeler, boy, he rode to fame. Casey Jones, he mounted to the cabin. Casey Jones with his orders in his hand. Casey Jones, he mounted to the cabin, but he took a travel trip to the promised land.
Everywhere he heard the cadence of the railroads, making a music all its own. Trains being shunted on the tracks, men shouting as they delivered the mail, people coming and going in the rush of noise the express makes going through. These sounds have left a deep impression on the music of America. Listen to the blues, to jazz, even today's rock and roll. You can hear the rattling, driving, syncopated rhythms of the railroads. And out of this background came the songs Jack sings today, songs of loneliness, of travel and adventure, all about trains as they whistle across thousands and thousands of miles. And this morning we share his boyhood memories as he tells his daughter Dixie what it was like to hear the trains whistle blend with the song of the railroad men.
I was riding number 9, heading south from Caroline. I heard that long, lonesome whistle blow. Got in trouble, had to roam, left my gal and left my home. I heard that long, lonesome whistle blow. Just a kid acting smart, I went and broke my darling's heart. I guess I was too young to know. They took me off to Georgia, Maine, tied me to a ball and chain. I heard that long, lonesome whistle blow. You know, Dixie, honey, I can remember the railroads, oh, the hobos riding the blinds and the big box cars, the steam engines, the trestles and the whistles. But most of all, honey, I can remember the song, you know it? I'll be locked here in this cell till my body's just a shell and my hair turns whiter than snow. I never see that gal of mine. Lord, I'm in Georgia doing time. I heard that long, lonesome whistle blow. I heard that long, lonesome whistle blow. You know, sugar, there's two things that a railroad man really looks after. You know that? One is a good watch, and the other one is a timetable. And sometimes those men stay with that watch and the timetable and the throttle right to the very end, just like this fella right here. They gave him his orders at Monroe, Virginia, saying, Pete, you're way behind time. It's not 38, but old 97, you must get her into Danville on time. He turned around to his cold, greasy fireman, said, shovel in a little more coal. For when we pass old White Oak Mountain, you can hear old 97 roll. It's a mighty rough road from Monroe to Danville and a stretch of a 4-mile grade. It was on this stretch he lost his air brakes. You can see what a jump he made. He was going around the curve making 90 miles an hour when the whistle broke into a scream. He was found in the wreck with his hand on the throttle and scalded to death by the steam. Honey, there was lots of famous railroad men, you know. Casey Jones and Daddy Claxton, they were engineers. But there was another real famous railroad man who was a brakeman, just a humble brakeman. And his name was Jimmy Rogers, and they called him the singing brakeman. Here's one of his favorite songs. On a cold winter night, not a star was in sight, and the north wind came howling down the line. With his sweetheart so dear stood a brave engineer with his orders to pull old number 9. She kissed him goodbye with a tear in her eye. Her joy she could not hide. For the whole world was bright when she told him that night that tomorrow she'd be his blushing bride. As the train rolled along, the wheels sang a song, and the black smoke came pouring from the stack. The light and the gleam seemed to brighten his dream that tomorrow he'd be coming back. And true to his word, he did, too. And they got married and moved up in a little white house on the hill and lived happy ever after. You know that? Honey, do you remember the song I taught you about the old retired railroad conductor?
You mean Old Man, Old Man?
Yeah, that's it. Are you ready?
Old man, where have you been?
Down to the valley to see an old friend.
Old man, what did he say?
He said, go away, old man, go away. He was counting his gold and his treasures untold. He didn't have time for me. So I picked up my cane and I walked home again to sit on the stump of a tree.
Old man, where is your wife?
She's out in the kitchen sharpening a knife.
Old man, what will you
sauerkraut and biscuits and pickled fig feet. He was counting his gold and his treasures untold. He didn't have time for me. So I picked up my cane and I walked home again to sit on the stump of a tree.
Oh man, when will you die?
When all of the elephants learn to fly.
Oh man, are you teasing me?
Yes, my little darling, my tongue is too free. He was counting his gold and his treasures untold. He didn't have time for me. So I picked up my cane and I walked home again
To sit on the stump of a tree.
Thank you, honey. You know all my happy days around a little railroad town came to a close one time. You see, they came in and they took the steam engines off the line and they put diesel engines in, and they tore down our old roundhouse and they even dug up the tracks. And I wrote you a little song about it, too. We call it They Tore Down the Old Roundhouse. Want to hear it? One day they tore down our roundhouse, then they dug up the track. They took away our steam engines, and they're never gonna bring them back. The water tank is now empty. They hauled the big coal pile away. They didn't leave nothing but memories, and railroaders minus their pay. They got them diesels a-rolling, and they don't ever slow down. They just blow their crazy whistles and go barreling through my hometown. The old turntable is rusty. They took the big boiler away. The foreman told us that morning that no hands were needed that day. The sand house is gone forever. The pit's as dry as a bone. Goodbye to our steam locomotives. The diesels have taken your home.
Oh, that was mighty nice. Yes, indeed. I noticed, Butch, that you were singing some of the lyrics. You know most of these songs, Butch?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, now, that's pretty clever. This is Butch Turner sitting alongside of me here. What was the last one you recited for me now? See if you remember it without Dad playing it.
One day they tore down one house, then they dug up the track. They took away our steam engine, and they're never gonna bring them back.
Wang, wang. Pretty good. Very good, Butch. I didn't know you had it in you. Think you'll be a singer someday?
No, ma'am.
Well, you're a singer now. Don't you realize you can sing pretty good?
No, ma'am.
Have you any dream of what you want to be in the future, Butch?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
Fireman.
A fireman? You made up your mind for sure?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to be a railroad man?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. What is it you like about fireman's life?
Well, they save people from the fire.
They what, dear?
They help prevent fire and stuff like that.
They help prevent fire and stuff like that there, huh? I think you'll be a fine fireman, and I bet you'll be glad to get out of this fancy city jacket you've got on, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. You say yes, ma'am, so good you could work on Madison Avenue. And that was lovely, Dixie. I did enjoy hearing you and watching you watch Dad. It was so nice. I'm so glad you came up here. I want to introduce you to the rest of the family, though. This is really an awful nice family. On my right here is sitting Jackie Turner, and Jackie told me she was nervous. You still nervous, Jackie?
No, ma'am.
You're not nervous anymore?
No, ma'am.
Now that the family's all together?
No, ma'am. Happy now.
Do you notice how it works in this family? The boy says yes, ma'am, and the girl says no, ma'am. You see, they've been brought up absolutely right all the way down the line. Do you sing, too?
No, ma'am.
No, huh? Do you have any idea what you want to do?
I think I'd like to be a secretary.
A secretary?
Yes, ma'am.
You would? Well, we know a lot of men around here that need a nice, pretty secretary like you, so you just leave your name and address and we'll call you.
Okay.
As soon as you take the course. And this is Mrs. Turner. Good morning, Mrs.
Hello,
Turner.
Arlene.
Well, you must be very proud of your family.
I surely am.
Mrs. Turner, this is your first visit to New York, I understand.
Yes, and we've had a wonderful time.
You have? What's been the most exciting thing about being up here?
Oh, I guess going up on the Empire State Building.
That's a marvelous view,
We saw
isn't
a
it?
stage show and
You saw a stage show?
Uncle Willie.
And which one?
Uncle Willie.
Uncle Willie?
We thought the children would enjoy that.
And did you? You did? Had you ever been in a theater before, Jackie?
No, not in a stage show theater.
No. Must have been exciting for you.
It was.
All those live people up there carrying on?
Yes, ma'am.
But you don't want to act?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. What grade are you in school?
8.
8th. And how about you? Do you go to school? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
What, reform school?
No, second grade.
What is it?
Second grade.
Second grade. Good for you. Now, Jack Turner, you've heard him play, but I want you to just take a little look at a couple of pictures we have here, Jack. And if you would tell us something about them, will you, how you happened to start painting, and then we'll talk about this first picture right up here, which looks like the work of a man that had been painting for many, many years and studied quite hard.
Thank you very much.
Who is it,
Well, I
Jack?
started a long time ago. That's a portrait of General George C. Kinney, retired. I painted that one 8 or 9 years ago, I
Did
guess.
you? It's really beautifully painted. Now,
Thank
did you
you.
study?
I studied commercial art down in Nashville, Tennessee, but portrait painting, I sort of dug it out, you might say.
You dug it out real good.
Thank you.
And in contrast to this portrait over here, we have another painting by Jack Turner that's as different as from the first one as, I guess you'd say, Renoir is from Grant Wood. So will you tell us about this picture? I hope you can get a good shot of it because it's a darling idea.
That's a little picture I did, Miss Francis, for the children's room. It depicts different nursery rhymes, all the way from Little Bo Peep on down to Little Miss Muffet. I think there's about 42
little
on there
nursery
in all.
stories in there. Have you got a favorite in there? Favorite nursery rhyme?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Well, I have. It's the crooked man that's walking the crooked mile up there. He's my favorite, and it's a darling, darling picture. Now, Jack, why don't you sing us another song? What?
Well, I suppose I do one that all the family likes,
All right.
and I hope you do too.
I do.
It's called John
All right.
Henry.
John Henry.
John Henry said to the captain, there was lightning in his eye. Captain, you can bet your old lass in on me. I'll beat that steam hammer or I'll die, Lord, Lord. I'll beat that steam hammer or I'll die. Well, John Henry, he went up on the mountain, that old steam hammer by his side. He swung 14 pounds from his hips on down. He laid down his hammer and he cried, Lord, Lord. He laid down his hammer and he cried.
I like it, too. It's not one of my favorites. Well, I tell you what, let's all watch the rest of the show for a few minutes, and then you sing another song for us, would you, Jack, a little later on? Natalie wants to do a little singing.
Now I ask you, who could know more about fragrance than Bourgeois? Bourgeois makes Evening in Paris, the perfume worn by more French women than any other. And Bourgeois puts Evening in Paris fragrance in a deodorant stick to give you a breath of Paris every day. It's the most delightful deodorant stick of them all. It glides on dry, and it keeps underarms dry and delicately fragrant. And you can rely on it for dawn-to-dawn protection. Evening in Paris deodorant stick is the first choice of so many women who gladly pay 75 cents for it. But right now, look, you can buy 2 Evening in Paris deodorant sticks for just $1. That's right, a $1.50 value for $1 at any toiletry counter where you see this Evening in Paris deodorant special. And when you buy it, you're getting so much more than positive deodorant protection. You're also getting all the allure of Evening in Paris. Be sure to purchase the Evening in Paris deodorant special now. Stores won't have them very long.
It's time now for a coffee break. And the best way to enjoy a cup of coffee is to relax with the Norman Paris Trio, who, in answer to a request that poured in from all over the country, are going to play You're the Cream in My Coffee. Norman?
This Elizabethan lady is not looking for Sir Walter Raleigh to assist her across a puddle. She can take care of herself, thank you, being one of the emancipated women of her era. She indulges in a brand new game, and it is not a parlor game, even though she's dressed in brocade and velvet. The game is golf. Now, most of us regard golf as a fairly modern sport, but actually the game, almost as we know it today, was originated in Scotland 4 centuries ago, in the area where world-famous St. Andrew's Golf Course is now located. That was in the days of the first Queen Elizabeth's reign, about 1558. So this is virtually the 400th anniversary of golf. And this event is being celebrated by the National Golf Show, which is taking place all this week at the Park Avenue Armory here in New York City. The golfing fashions there have been staged by Harper's Bazaar, and this morning we're going to show you a few of them. Let's take another look at that well-dressed golfer of 400 years ago. This chic outfit is red silk brocade over velvet. The slashed action sleeves have inserts of silver lame to match her stomacher. And for an added outdoorsy look, she wears a perky hat and a plaid tartan stole. Time marches on, and by 1900, the rules of the game had changed, and so had the garb. The Gibson girl played golf with a vengeance in her starched blouse with leg of mutton sleeves, high stiff collar and black tie, and a black patent belt which circled her tightly girdled waist. Oof! The skirt is pongee with back fullness which was just fine for sweeping up the fairway. And now for the 20s. Ha-ha! Here is a snappy plapper who's ready for action. Her dress is wool jersey with a short pleated skirt below her hip-length blouse. Of course, she wears the inevitable cloche. Her partner, who is in the sand trap at the moment, would be wearing +4s, the golfing outfit that David, the Prince of Wales, made so famous. Very snappy indeed, eh? And returning to popularity again for both men and women. But nowadays, the male golf outfit seen most often on any golf course resembles the casual clothes worn by another famous man.